to do is just have a play for a second. I want you to imagine the perfect competition. So you can close your eyes or keep them open, whatever's most comfortable for you. And I want you to imagine driving to the barn or the stable, or if your horses are at home, you're getting up, but you're with your horse. You give him his breakfast. You might plait him up that morning. He might already be plaited up. You spend that beautiful time in the barn in the morning when no one else is around. And you might do some centering exercises and some visualization exercises to make sure that you're really focused, really calm, and really ready for the competition ahead. It's then time to load him into the float, the trailer, the truck, however you get into the competition, and drive to the competition, still remaining that calm, focused, centered rider that you need to be, and your horse feeding off your calm, centered energy and not being fussed at all. You get to the competition, you secure him in his yard, tie him to the float, put him in the stable, whatever works for you. Go and register for the competition, find out if your warm-up ring's changed, find out if your competition ring's changed, check your competition time, and check everything's going how you planned it and foresaw it. You then come back to the float or the truck and you start preparing your horse and you for this amazing competition that is about to happen. The whole time feeling calm, centered, focused and happy, just excited to do your best. While you're excited to do your best, you're not feeling that excitable, you're just in the zone, in the moment and ready to perform. You saddle your horse, he looks beautiful, he's got the beautiful white saddle blanket, he's got everything, you're beautifully dressed in your white breeches, black shiny boots and everything else that you need to do. You hop on your horse and you ride to the warm-up arena. The warm-up arena and the warm-up goes perfectly executed to plan. Even when a plastic bag comes across the arena, even when another horse goes mental and upsets all the horses, 3 seconds after it, you've recovered, you're centered, you're focused, and your horse is back with you. You warm up perfectly, the horse is through, connected with you, waiting to perform at whatever you ask it to do. You then circle around the ring, the judge gives you a toot, says hello and says, okay, you got 60 seconds to come in. You circle, you come into the arena and you do the best test of your life. Because that's how competition goes, doesn't it? So the goal, the intention, the purpose of this Competition Success Online workshop is to give you the skills and the things you need to know for that scenario to be your living reality. So that is my promise to you, and that is my intention of everything that I'm doing, teaching and giving to you guys, to give you your best chance of executing that competition perfectly. I feel when you have mastered competition nerves, when you have no anxiety, you have no nervousness, you have no emotions or feelings towards how you perform, you just execute and perform. When you have learnt your test perfectly, it's not even a thought of, I don't know where to go next. You just have this little GPS in your head that tells you what you should be doing. You have plenty of time to prepare for the movements and you can execute a warm-up perfectly. Then you have your best chance of having the most successful competition that you're capable of having at that moment. When I compete, I have no emotion. I have no feeling or stress about what's the outcome going to be and what's the meaning of that outcome. I'm there to do a job. I'm there to execute. I'm there to be there for my horse and to be the best rider I can be to help him perform, him or her, to perform at their best. I absolutely love to compete. I love the pressure to perform at 2:02 in the pouring rain, in weird conditions, to see what me and my horse are capable of. I find that exciting and I really, really enjoy that challenge. But it wasn't always like that. I've been competing 20 years and obviously at the start I didn't have many good and I had a lot of bad, and even now I still have bad tests and problems and eliminations and things that I just go, oh really, that was a great learning experience. But the biggest problem was I didn't have the skills. I didn't know how to overcome my competition nerves. So I was so nervous, not of coming last, but of just failing. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to stuff up. I didn't want to look bad. So I didn't know how to, and I was nervous about all those things, and I didn't know how to handle that pressure and how to grow from that. I also had no clue. I didn't know how to learn a dressage test. I just knew I had to learn it, which meant that I didn't have a strategy to learn the test. I just kind of read it and hoped that it went in, and a lot of the time it didn't. And so I'd have callers. I don't know if you've done this strategy, so you have callers, but then you can't hear the callers, or you're too busy focusing on something, and even with the caller you make mistakes, and then you're going, oh my God, even with the caller you made mistakes, and you've got this negative spiral and this stress and this anxiety of remembering the dressage test. But it wasn't that I didn't have a good memory, it was I didn't have a good strategy to remember the dressage test. I also had no clue about how to ride a warm-up. I just went in there and I was like, oh my God, there's Mary Hannah, and oh my God, stay away from that really amazing horse, and oh my God, the horses in this warm-up look amazing, and oh my God, I don't look like that, and stay out of that person's way, and stay out of that person's way, and is it time to do the test yet? That was my warm-up strategy, and I didn't have, well, it must have been my warm-up strategy. I didn't call it a strategy, but that's what it was, because I consistently replicated that mess of a warm-up for many years and then wondered why I didn't perform well. So I struggled on and on and on like this for about 10 years. There was a lot of failings and a lot of, okay, I'd adapt a couple of things, but it wasn't until I discovered the answer, I'll say, from the most unexpected place, that everything became a lot easier and the results started coming, and more reliably and more consistently, all because I discovered this little secret. And this little secret is called NLP. And NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and there's a whole stack of things in there. But its biggest thing that made the biggest difference to me at that time was I'm responsible for my results. So not the judges, not the weather, not the other people in the warm-up, not the other horses, not my own horse, because I was doing all of that. I was saying, well, my horse was so naughty at the competition this weekend. My horse did bad. My horse is really untalented. My horse can't score at that movement. My horse is crap. Oh, the weather was really bad. Oh, that judge just doesn't like me. What else were my excuses? The weather, I didn't have enough time. They made me ride early. Oh, they were running late and they made me ride late. Insert excuse here. And it was always everyone else's and everything else's fault or reason why I didn't perform when I was meant to perform. But when I performed well, that was me. NLP taught me that all my results and all my non-results were me. And I couldn't control external world. You can never control if your class is running early or late, or who else you're going to be competing against, or what your horse is going to be like on the day, or anything else. You can't control external. All you can control is your reaction and your response to what's happening around you. This was a huge realization for me, to realize I was the answer to my own competition success. So keeping in mind that the secret is the mind, let's get into number one. Let's get into how do we overcome competition nerves and competition anxiety. What I want you to do again is enter that competition space, so you can keep your eyes open or shut them if you wish. And I want you to think of a big competition, the biggest competition you could conceive of you entering. It might be the Olympics, it might be a national level competition, it might be just a competition. Whatever it is, think of this big competition. And then tell me how you're feeling. And if you say you're nervous, you can feel nervous. Tell me, what are you nervous about? And you can see I'm smiling because I want you to really tell me what you are nervous about. Now you might say, what do you mean? I'm nervous about a big atmosphere. And I go, okay, well why is a big atmosphere a problem? Like, how do you know that you need to get nervous about a big atmosphere? And you might say, oh, because there'll be people looking at me. And I'll go, but why are you nervous about people looking at you? Like, I really want you to drill down and go, well, why is someone looking at me, or why is lots of people looking at me something that causes me to be nervous? It's time we're going to dig a little bit and get really ingrained into what it is that you're nervous about. I want to share with you something. When a child is born, when a baby is brought into this world, they are born with only two fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Every other single fear is learnt. And sometimes we learn a fear that isn't a fear. Like we learn that it's something to be scared of, but it's actually not something that we need to be scared of. And we need to grow up and be adults and actually change a learning that we've had with fear. Because the presupposition of if something is learned, therefore has to stand to reason it can be unlearned. So if we're only born with these two fears, there's also 3 other fears that I can guarantee every single human being develops in their life and has in their life. And it's your ability to reconcile these 3 fears that will determine how successful you are at competition. The first fear is fear of not being loved. Now, back in the old days, which is when our brains were conceived. But back in the old days, we lived in clans. You know, clan of the cave bear, go back to Neanderthal times. We lived in tribes, we lived in clans. If no one loved us, if no one liked us, but if no one loved us, no one would take care of us. It is an instinct, even in a baby, for someone to love us, because if someone loves us, someone will take care of us. So it is a deep-rooted fear, oh my God, what if someone doesn't love me? So we want everyone to love me, to love you, which means that competing could stand that we could fail. And if we fail, will that mean that people won't love us? So we don't want to go into a situation where we don't perform or we could fail, because what if that meant that all our love would be taken away? The second fear that we all have that is deep-rooted in our psyche is the fear of not belonging. So again, in the tribe, if no one wanted us in the tribe, they would put us out. They would cast us out, and that would mean we had no fire, we had no tribe to surround us if a predator came. We might not be able to hunt. We had no one to look after us when we were sick. We were in big trouble. So we had to belong. We had to make sure everyone liked us, and we had to belong to the tribe. So again, if we go out and compete and we do something different, or we stand out from the crowd, or we have a horse that's being naughty, or we do something that makes people look at us, we get scared. Because that could mean they will say, you can't hang with us anymore, you can't be in our cave anymore. Now, our third big rooted fear is the fear of not being good enough. If we couldn't contribute to this tribe, if we couldn't contribute to the clan and bring in berries or bring in a saber-toothed tiger or protect the tribe or be a medicine person for the tribe, if we didn't have any skills or we weren't good enough at anything, again, they're going to go, while you're around, you're going to have to go. So we fear failure so much, and we fear not being good enough because that will mean that we're not allowed to hang with them anymore. So competing, if you fail, if you come last, if the judge says you shouldn't be here, that is so terrifying, because what if that means that we can't be in that group anymore? Now, I got good news for you. We don't live in tribes and clans anymore. We don't live in caves anymore. And if we need to be on our own, we will survive. And we now have internet and cars and planes, which means we can travel very easily and accessibly to another tribe that goes, I dig you, or I like what you have, or that's a cool skill to have. So we're in this amazing 21st century of life that means we don't need to worry if one tribe doesn't like us. Back then, if one tribe didn't like us, the next tribe was 5,000 k's down the road, and there was no road, and how would you get there? So we're really, really lucky, but our brains haven't caught up to that. And our brains are still hanging on to, we need people to like us, we need to belong, we need to be loved, and we need to make sure that we're good enough. So your ability for competition success, this is the point of this video. If you want to overcome competition nerves, what are you nervous about? And I guarantee you, when you drill down on what you are nervous about, it comes back to those 3 fears. You're nervous about people looking at you. Why? Because you're nervous that they're not going to like you, or you're nervous that they're not going to say that you belong here, or you're nervous that they're going to say you're not good enough. So what? Your ability to be able to go, so what? I'm having fun. So what? I'm learning. So what? I'm here to, get a learning experience. Whatever it is your ability to then overcome these competition nerves and set yourself up for success. I can, hand on heart, tell you, I don't get nervous when I compete. I feel nothing, because there is nothing to feel. There is nothing to fear. What am I nervous about? If I come last, I still go home and have Mexican with my husband and my kids. If I win, I still get to go home and have Mexican with my husband and kids. There's no difference in my life. The only expectation is that I do my best. I want me and my horse to show what we have achieved in training, to show what we are capable of, and to do our best performance. Now, if we do our best performance, that's awesome. Whether or not I place or not, that's up to the gods, the judges, everything else, out of my control. And if it's bad, if I come last and the judges go, actually, that's really bad, that's my feedback to go, I need to change my training regime, I need to change how I show and present the horse. It's all feedback. So what I want you to do is really sit with what you're nervous about, really drill down on what those nerves are really about, and then really start thinking about how you can reconcile these three fears so those competition nerves don't have any hold of you anymore. Now, I know you might be saying, but that's all great, but I have a young horse, and that young horse is crazy, and it's really, really mental. I understand all that. And are you nervous when you ride him at home? Because that has to also be dealt with and handled. If you're nervous when you ride at home, of course you'll be nervous when you compete at a competition. So that also has to be reconciled. But just because you're on a young horse doesn't mean that automatically means you have to be nervous. I take young horses to their first competitions all the time. I love it because it's going to be a surprise. I don't know what horse I'm going to get. Obviously, they're going to be a different horse to what they're going to be at home. Sometimes they're not. That's the surprise. I'm no different. Sometimes they're mental. That's the surprise. Sometimes they're fine and then not fine and then fine again. That's the surprise. Whatever it is, I'll handle it. I'll deal with it. It's that trust in self and that self-belief and that ability to just be, no matter what, I've got this and I'm rising to the challenge. That means that the nerves can't set in. The nerves are from you worried about what if. But what if can't exist. And if you are going to play the what if game, it has to be what if this horse is amazing and what if this horse is brilliant. You might also be nervous, what if I forget my test? What if I don't know where I'm going? What if I get eliminated because I forget my test 3 times? That's okay. We're going to fix that in the next video. So we can take a deep breath. There's no need to be nervous about forgetting your test or not knowing where you're going because I'm going to help you with that tomorrow. And you might be nervous going, I'm fine in the ring and I'm fine at home, but don't put me in that warm-up arena with all those other horses and all those other horse problems and the left to left and where am I meant to be and I can't warm up. That's okay too. You don't need to be nervous about that because I'm going to fix that in video 3. So I think we can all breathe and go, all right, there's no need to be nervous about those 3 fears. I can reconcile those 3 fears. I don't need to be nervous about young horses because I can handle that and I have the strategies in place for that. I'm going to learn how to learn my test and I'm going to learn how to master the warm-up so we can just chill. So I know you're really itching to know, how do you learn your dressage test? And in the next video, I'm going to reveal everything to you. How I remember up to 8 dressage tests in a day, all different levels, all different horses, all different everything, but it's easy for me. And remember, in video 3 that's coming next week, I'm going to give you a full checklist and a full training plan for your warm-up. So you're going to know where you need to be, how you need to be, and when you need to be for everything in that warm-up, so you're going to be set up for competition success. But right now, I want to know a little bit more about you. What does competition success mean to you? And what does being able to compete successfully in competition going to mean for you and your results? And share in the comments. I will respond to every single comment. I really want to see who's playing with us, share where we're at in our competition journey so I can see how I can help and maybe I can sneak extra little things into the next videos if I know that you guys need that.